I think we're live. I think I've got the audio on. So for those of you who are joining on YouTube and who've hung around for the first 15 minutes while Michael struggles at all the technical issues I was having just a second ago getting my headphones working, I swear I tried starting this early to make sure we could get this going, but here we are. So anyways, thank you for joining us. Let's transition over to the Teams group here and introduce all the MVPs today. Here we go. This is our Teams group. Thank you guys for joining. Here we go. We're going to try and get this thing going. First off, for those who are joining on the stream, super apologize about the stream weirdness. Michael's still trying to figure out OBS and how to make everything go. Reed's doing another stream here pretty soon, so I can tell him not to do what I did. So anyways, let's start up at the top left-hand corner. Reed, go ahead. Give us a quick introduction and what you're all about.
Yeah, so I'm Reed Havens, one of the of course MVPs for this chat, and I do a lot of stuff similar to you, Mike, with visualizations and everything else. And at least what's been going on with me recently is I'm about halfway through now building out a video course that I've been recording. I've got about an hour, 45 minutes worth of content so far.
Awesome.
That's going to be coming out soon. So I'm excited to do that. But I will say firsthand, like having to edit hours of your own voice eventually just gets like mind-numbing. Nobody likes to listen to their own voice.
True statement. So moving on along, Daniel, you're with us. I think this is the second or third time you've been with us. Welcome.
This is time number 2. Yeah, thanks for having me back.
Yeah, appreciate it. And Daniel, you freelance, right? You're just a contractor that does awesome visualization stuff, right?
Yeah, I'm kind of fortunate enough to be able to freelance at the minute. So mostly just play around with custom visuals and Power BI.
Love it.
And just really enjoy working in this space.
We've
fantastic.
We've got a topic for you this week, which is this month actually, which is awesome. Eric, Mr. Cool. External Tools recently. You've been pumping them out like left and right. I love it. So Eric, This is the first time to the show. Thank you very much for joining. I appreciate it. Give us a little bit of who you are, and then you own a company. Tell us a little bit about that real quick.
Yeah, I'm owning a company called Catman Solution, and we provide a Power BI as a service solution for suppliers for the fast-moving consumer goods, and we handle a lot of their external data and provide them with a Power BI solution where they can see their performance on individual stores and sales reps, etc.
Awesome. And for those who don't know, Catman means category management, and it's more of like the retail sector, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
Cool. We got a powerhouse with us. Darren's with us. I'm awesome. Darren, I'm so pleased you're able to join us. This is a blast. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Darren's a long. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. I wasn't sure who was going to. Yeah, so I've possibly the most elderly MVP here.
Senior MVP.
Senior. Yeah. Yeah. So I have got my 15th award this year.
Oh wow.
And you probably so yeah, I've sort of started with analysis services way before. In fact, it was OLAP services when I first started using it back in 99. Yeah, it's a long time MVP based in Melbourne, Australia. So you might be able to see some of the morning sun coming in here.
Nice.
And yeah, I spend a fair bit of time at the moment working on DAX Studio, and
huge.
Just put out a release yesterday.
Great tool.
Love DAX Studio. Yeah, can't gush enough about that.
Yeah, so that sort of keeps me busy between that and forums. And I run a local data platform user group here in Melbourne.
Excellent. Moving on, we're going to go over to Rui. Rui, from, I don't think you're in Venice, but your shirt definitely thinks you are.
It's not in Venice. Nice to be with you all here. So it's always a nice opportunity to be with you. And I'm a Power BI evangelist from Portugal. Always up to some cool hacks and tips and tricks and stuff like that.
Rui's underselling himself immensely. Rui is absolutely amazing with his tips and tricks. You will have your mind. He has like 1,000,000, I don't know, like 100 of them in a slide deck. He just kind of rambles through these things. It's absolutely incredible how much he goes into. And Rui, you work for DevScope, is that correct?
Yeah, it's a company from Portugal. I lead the business intelligence team, consultancy, and we have some amazing products to overcome some of the limitations of the Power BI platform.
Opportunities,
And
not
actually, opportunities. Yeah.
opportunities.
And actually, from the acts, I'm baking some new acts that I will present this Saturday at SQL Saturday Oregon.
Oh,
Yeah.
perfect.
It's the 1000 edition of SQL Saturday, so pretty excited about that.
Send me a link in the chat, and I'll make sure it gets into the YouTube feed for that as well. And then Seth, hey
Well,
Seth,
yeah.
how's it going?
Hi, Mike. It's been so long since you and I
Talked like 15 minutes ago.
Yeah. Currently, I'm the director of business intelligence at a company called Syndigo. It's an online product content and distribution company. Kind of been there for a little bit over a year now, just kind of building a whole Power BI solution from end to end in their analytics, doing a lot of embedding for clients in custom applications. So, spending a lot of time in that area. And ironically, work with Mike is he's one of my guys that's helping out with that. In the Power BI space, still co-owner of the Milwaukee Brew City Pug, so we're still running those Power BI user groups. Next week, I think we have Phil Seamark doing a aggregations talk. So
Ag
if you
tables.
guys are in Tuesday next week, so that's an exciting thing coming up. And co-owner of Power BI.tips with Mike. Just love doing a lot of the online community stuff there. To keep me engaged for this month and on my own schedules, I'll promise in this, we have a new scrim coming out this month, so we'll be looking forward to putting that on the site. And
I'm going to hold you to it. Better come out this month.
Another thing people can use for some background help. So
cool.
Glad to be here.
Nice.
Well, thanks guys for joining. Let's just get into it. October's finally here. It has taken forever for October to get here. I was totally anticipating last week to show up and have the October release here. It did not show, and we kept moving this meeting back further and further, waiting for the release to actually happen. So, what do you guys think? What are your impressions? Or anything that hit you right off the get-go of something you like?
I mean, I think this is the thing that me and both Matt Allington have been talking about a little bit on Twitter. Is just I love the new splash screens that show up. Like it's not even that big of a change. Nothing actually, to me in the back end or anything. But and I think Matt described it very well. People who come from Excel or anywhere else, they see a blank canvas like this and they get a little scared. Like it's, the possibilities are so limitless in that sense that there's so many more things you could do that. It's just kind of a little bit scary to just like, what am I supposed to put here? Do I click? Where do I click? And I think the user guidelines of add data, and then when your data gets added, you create a new page. There's another splash screen that tells you kind of, you can customize this. And I think that really helps to like be a guiding hand for people first using Power BI, and just makes it again like a less scary for those people who are just getting introduced to it.
Did anyone notice when you click Power BI to start? There is now a little box with a nice new icon or logo. I don't know what we're calling it.
Icon.
I don't know. So there's a new icon, and in that box up in the upper right-hand corner, there's a minimize and an X now. Yeah. So as you're loading the program, you can tell it to cancel on load. And I saw a really funny tweet from David Eldersveld. He goes, if you accidentally press the Power BI icon, you can now cancel it as it's loading. I think it was from David Eldersveld, which I thought was really funny because who would accidentally press the Power BI button to load a Power BI? It's never an accident.
I think
I've done that. Like it's on my taskbar. It's on my start menu bar at the bottom of most commonly used, and sometimes I click that rather than say PowerPoint.
Gotcha.
And I have to wait for it to load and open and close, and that might be like 15 to 20 seconds. It takes a little while sometimes. So like that's actually really useful. I didn't know that. So I'm 100% going to be clicking that sometime in the next 5 to 7 days. Guarantee it.
Alex Powers. Alex Powers very clearly tells me it's an icon. It's an icon that we're dealing with.
Yeah.
So cool. Did you guys see a new button on that? So on that splash screen that you're talking about, there's a new button on there called Try Sample Dataset. Did anyone click the button by chance?
Yep.
Yeah. I haven't played with it since release, but I think that's great. Again, it gives people a sandbox.
I think so.
To play around with. And that is, I think again that removes the barrier from people who might open it and like, well, I don't really have any data, and then they just throw the stop using the tool. I think it's a fantastic way to get people started.
Daniel, you said you played with a little bit. Any first impressions from your side?
Yeah, I kind of I started playing with it. I thought, oh yeah, it's the financial sample data, so it's pretty good to get started with. I use that heaps of times for just playing around with visual ideas and stuff, so it's quite good.
Yeah.
I was a little kind of miffed that maybe it didn't kind of push you down a star schema route, but then I've seen some conversation on Twitter the last couple of days, and I think again we'll cite David Eldersveld again. He's a font of wisdom.
Yes, he is.
He kind of said that I liked it quite a lot. We learn to feed babies. We feed babies formula before we give them real food.
Oh,
so I think I just like the idea of. I kind of thought about it more. I thought, yeah, actually, if you just want to get something in and start playing with it, that's actually pretty good. And you can opt to transform the data if you want to take it a bit further. But yeah, good to get started with it. It's one thing I feel has been missing for a while. Just give me something I can play with.
I would agree with you, and I would, when I'm doing a test on something, right? Someone would say, "Hey, how about this visual? I need to fix it." First thing I would do is I'd open desktop up, I'd hit enter data, and I'd start making up some random data to start using it. And this is a nice fast button that I can use, just make it all at once, it just shows up. I will say this. You can get into it in the weeds pretty quick. So I started a try this sample data set, and you edit the query for it. You can actually see it's just an Excel file that's being installed with your desktop installation. And if you take that file, copy it to your desktop or somewhere else that's not protected, you can modify it. So you can basically change the standard loading of data whatever you want. Like, so I have my sample. So if I want my sample data set, you can modify that Excel file, put in your own data set, and then when you click try a sample data set, you can now get your own custom data sets that you need, which I thought was actually pretty slick. You can go modify the Excel file.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Blog coming soon about that.
I love how we take the simple topics of like brand new user splash screen to like
custom data.
Machine, we can modify it. I will say, that does ring a bell. Ironically enough, with Alex, who I think is in the chat with us. So welcome, Alex. In that he just did a presentation for our pug this last month on calculated columns, and a lot of the insights that he was giving, I think I in jest kind of said, why don't you go revamp like some of the Power BI in a day or the dashboard in a day material to include these like really key points about like when and where to use calculated columns. And I think this kind of frames into like the intro of like where watermarks is coming. And if I would throw out an idea, I'd love to see like what's the next step, right? Like where you're getting these brand new users into the tool, and they're getting familiar, but like is there a path to do like ramp it up, like kind of more of an advanced look and feel where you're actually going to be able to build some really comprehensive stuff in Power BI. Might be a pipe dream, but I just saw the correlation between those two things.
I like it. Any other things that hit you from the release? Come on, Daniel. There's got to be
dynamics.
one. There's got to be one that's hitting you. Dynamics.
The dynamic and query was awesome until I understood that it doesn't work with SQL. But if it works with SQL, that is an awesome thing, because that will allow us to design those old school reports that are still important, where you have a collection of parameters, and then that will issue a query or a store procedure, and then just bring that data in. But it doesn't work with SQL.
Have you found a source that it does work with right now?
Yeah, I think the only source that works is the APIs, web APIs. And,
web APIs.
Snowflake,
okay.
I know it works. I know it works with Snowflake and also Log Analytics.
Yeah, and Azure, the Custo KQL.
Yeah.
I think that was one of their original use cases internally was.
Oh, Custo, okay.
The Azure Long Analytics. Because the KQL queries weren't folding. Or it's difficult to get them folding, so this is one way of getting that similar behavior being able to inject into the query. But yeah, SQL, I can see a lot of people going, hey, I'll plug my stored procedure in.
Well, I think if anything, Microsoft is built on top of doing things in SQL. I have to believe this will be a fast follow for the community. Be like, why doesn't SQL work?
hope so.
Fix it.
Maybe it could be some because Microsoft is always very concerned about that, the security aspect, because you could do some SQL injection with it. Maybe it is because of that.
True.
But
This is essentially the same thing
that's-
as this is the same. An mQuery parameter would be like set up a start date and an end date, and then inject that into like a store procedure that would then say, okay, store procedure, run a data query that would give me a range of data, and then that would be pulled back to us, right? That's kind of what the premise of it is.
Yes. And not only range of dates, it could be the country, so a collection of parameters where you will just put that into the SQL view or a SQL procedure, and then just bring data back and show it. It is something that from reporting services was very, very common. And there is a space to that in Power BI also. If you are working with a huge data sets and huge databases, there is I would love this to work with SQL. I think that it will open some very, very cool scenarios.
Hey, Rui, you fill out the ideas at powerbi.com. If you can get to work, if you can you figure out how to make the doggone website run, fill out an idea. I will vote for it in a heartbeat. That's a shot across the bow there, Microsoft.
There you go.
Yeah.
Didn't someone post an idea for improving ideas?
I think they did.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Is that what broke the site?
I saw that. It made me laugh.
That one broke the site.
Do you have the link? Do you have the link to vote?
For the improving ideas.
The search of the ideas.
I'll go see if I can. I'll go see if I can find it.
I tried to vote for it, and then I had to log in, and then it took me to the homepage, and then I couldn't find the idea again.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. The idea for the ideas website is great. The idea
It's
is,
not the idea.
but not the execution. It's one of those situations where it's it preaches a great concept but doesn't practice it itself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Power Ideas search filtering. Here it is. I found it. So if you go to the ideas thing after you've logged in, because if you don't do it before you logged in, it doesn't work at all. So after you've logged in, I think if you search for the idea called ideas search filtering, that is the topic. And I'll see if I can. I'll go grab this and I'll put it in the chat window. Please vote for this. And I'll put it in the chat window here for all the people on YouTube. Please vote for this, so we can fix some of the ideas network. Cool.
Just a few.
Yeah. Any other things that kind of hit you this month?
I noticed that in the blog post about news, it is just shortly mentioned the JSON table inference. That Power Query now is much better at reading JSON files. So especially if you use web APIs that return JSON, it will be much. The Power Query does, a lot of automatic rendering of the JSON file, so you can get the tables that are inside the JSON file much easier.
I'll give that one a big thumbs up, because JSON tables are JSON in general. If you think about JSON, and I've done a lot of work with it recently, it's like a star schema inside a file. Basically, you can have many different nested objects and elements.
Yep.
And if you take that JSON file and blow it out to like an actual ERP level thing, you could have 4 or 5 tables out of one single JSON file that you may need to consume or work through. So this is interesting. I'm going to play with this a bit more because I think this could be really helpful.
I tried it with a BIM file.
Okay.
And then
how'd it go?
Yeah, perfect. You get the tables with the model and model rows and tables, etc. So you can expand that, and
nice.
It's in one click, just open the BIM file as a JSON document. And
that sounds like a new external tool if I've ever seen one, huh? Let me know when you get it finished. Perhaps. I'll put it in business ops. That's awesome. Very cool. Very cool. Oh,
it's a preview feature, so you have to
turn it on.
Enable it. Yeah.
So Donald says using the BIM as JSON file. He likes that. He says it's a good idea. He enjoys that comment as well.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah.
Excel also had similarly an add-on in the Power Query for this, where you can connect to Excel and it automatically looks at the sheets and then detects where your tables are if they haven't been defined as a table or a named range, which you used to kind of have to do by like shaping it yourself. So that's another nice bonus for the scenarios where I'd still recommend, maybe, try to avoid using Excel unless you have to. But for those scenarios, it is kind of nice to just immediately have it like suck out the table wherever it happens to be located on the sheet.
Yeah, that's also a preview feature in the October, the Excel table. In fairness,
Yep.
It's always also improved.
Yeah, very helpful.
And if you convert your PBIX to a zip file and read that, you could also read the JSON description of the of the layout, report layout. Yeah, that's an idea for you, Mike.
Trust me, I've tried. I'm doing. There's active development in that as we speak. So stay tuned. There may be more things coming about that.
Yeah.
Another one I thought very similar to this read about the updates with Excel and JSON is now there's a SharePoint update for the SharePoint online list connector, and I've done a lot of stuff where I'm trying to get files or things out of SharePoint with lists and stuff, and it always seems to be slow or kind of loads with potential errors. And I see a lot of things on the community around it's having problems. It can't get all the data out of the SharePoint.
Yep.
So I haven't fully tested it yet, but I'd be curious if this update to the SharePoint connector is aiding or helping out some of those connection issues where things are timing out. SharePoint's saying, no, I'm not going to give you data anymore. So I'm hoping that this is a good fix for those things as well.
Yeah. Again, I think similar to Excel, it's not the best place to keep your data, but if it's available in there, which a lot of people use it for, I've just the same thing. I've had issues with timeouts and other stuff like that on large lists. And,
yes.
I know Matt's tweeted a couple of times on his grievances. He likes to complain about things on Twitter, and that's definitely one of the things that he's said has been a pain point is the SharePoint connector.
Like he keeps accepting the invite, and then like at the last minute he always says, "Nah, I'm not gonna come." So he must be sleeping. He must be sleeping in or something. I don't know. It's early in Australia time, I guess. This was.
He just doesn't like us.
This whole thing was his idea. He's like, just do it at 4 p.m. every day. That way I can get to it. He's never here.
That's true. This was the time that he proposed.
Come on, Matt. You got to make it to us at some point, buddy. So that's funny.
Go. Actually, on the SharePoint online list connector, I already tried it with a big list, and it gives you a good, like 30% improvement in performance. It's
nice.
Because if it will only get you the fields that you define in the default view, which is awesome. By the way, what's your opinion on SharePoint list versus Excel? In the SharePoint document library, when do you use one or the other? Because
that's great.
I kind of so if I need to have more flexibility, I will go to Excel, and if I need to move data between two environments, prod and dev, then Excel, it's easy for you to move the data because you just need to move the Excel. And the SharePoint list can give you some better validation of data, but it's more restrictive, so it's not so flexible. Do you guys all the times go for online to the lists or to Excel? It's your standard. What's your default?
So I'll give you my opinion on this one, and everyone else can jump in. I like lists in SharePoint because it's easier, I feel like, to go add a Power App on top of that data set. So if I'm thinking through data pieces, like SharePoint does give you more control, and it does some more data validation. Like if I want to have a drop-down list and I need to make it have only these items, SharePoint can restrict you. That way, when you're entering data in, it's very specific. What I really like, though, is I don't actually like making SharePoint lists. I actually like using Power Apps to make those lists, and a SharePoint connector to Power Apps is free. So if you just have you can use that kind of out of the box without having to get too much extra effort. So if I'm manually entering in data, that's actually one of the things I use for like my time carding system that I run in my business. I go to my Power App, enter all my data in there. It's all very conformed and very uniform, and then it loads very seamlessly all the way through into Power BI reporting and building my invoices and everything else downstream. So I like that aspect of it. But I would agree, Rui, with you. Like if you need something just ultra flexible with wide open controls, Excel can totally do it. You can build macros and any kind of amount of automation in Excel. So if you are a really strong Excel developer, I was doing a lot of VBA there. So if you have someone who can do that, totally just be able to use Excel for those kind of things. But I think you open yourself up to more like data quality issues, I think, in Excel than you do SharePoint. That would be my opinion.
And by the way,
I think similar to you. Go ahead.
Just one thing that is amazing on Power Apps and Power BI integration is that you can embed a Power App inside the app navigation. So you can have when you publish a Power BI app, you have a link with a Power App that can edit the SharePoint list, and then can trigger a flow that will refresh the Power BI, for example. It is amazing.
Full closed loop, and that's neat right there, right? Now you can see data, see what's going on, change the data, hit a manual refresh, have it actually refresh. Granted, how big your data is, it may take a while, but you now have the ability of like pushing data from a report into something that will be updated hopefully within a couple minutes.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sorry, Reese, I interrupt you.
I was just saying, Mike, similar to you, it's the connectivity with SharePoint is the times that I use it. Like Excel, if I need to, like it's fine for keeping local data. Also, you have the functions. Any other kind of additional mashups you can do very easily in Excel, but SharePoint's great for Flow or Power Automate. I still don't like that name as much. But Power Automate to go in and take it from anywhere. Like I have multiple things from MailChimp and other stuff that automatically get added to a list that I consume data off of, and that's the quickest and easiest like database to set up if you're only expecting to collect a few hundred or a few thousand rows of some data, and it just pops it in and I can consume it in Power BI. I know you can do that in Excel, but I feel like there's a few more steps to have an online hosted Excel file and then have Power Automate write it into there and all that. So
I might be able to save some money by just getting rid of MailChimp altogether, have people just hit a link into my website, drop it into a SharePoint list, and then just fire off emails from Microsoft. It'd save me tons of money from this stupid MailChimp. It's so expensive.
It is, yeah. And the more your subscriber list grows, the more expensive it gets. But I scrub mine once a quarter just to get rid of dead accounts, thankfully.
Yeah, like 123pinkfrog@gmail.com, like all those kind of things.
Yeah, well, and at least they have those easy searches where you can see like, give me the list of people who hasn't opened an email from you in the last 6 months, and then bam, you're gone.
Gone.
Yep.
I have actually also started to use CDS.
Oh, okay. So tell me about some of that. So what are you finding there? Like it? Love it? Where do you, give me some details.
In my case, we have an external user that needs to segment a lot of master data. Mm-hmm. So we actually built a custom entity and then provided a model-driven app on top of that.
Oh, nice.
And use that into our Power BI model.
Now, is a CDS a premium connector for Power Apps? Do you have to pay more for that one, or does that kind of come standard?
Yeah, it's a premium.
Okay.
Yeah.
That would be why I haven't played with it very much.
Yeah. Well, it's you have to pay a per app
license fee.
License, right? So, and it does contain a lot of features that are very nice compared to, and you can exclude SharePoint in the scenario, and you can do a lot of stuff in there, validation and auditing, etc. Mm-hmm. As we know. So it works quite nice, and the performance is very good actually. I have over 300,000 rows in one of the entities.
Nice. That's very cool. I like that. Yeah. I'll have to look into that a little bit more. I think that's pretty slick. So I know.
And we soon have direct query for CDS as well, right?
Which will be amazing. Yeah. So we can have a lot of data there, and we can pare down the data just to what we want to look at, which would be, I think, a huge win.
Yeah.
Cool. So I got to give some real ample time here. Daniel has done an amazing visual recently, and we just did a webinar on it. I believe you get a direct shout out in this month's blog. Did you see that one?
I do, and it gave me a big old smile. It's always nice to see that, considering it started as a weekend project that's now taken over my personal life to some effect. it's just become kind of really cool to keep working on it. But yeah, really good. So that's the HTML content visual. So I just created it as a way of giving some functionality back for that HTML viewer visual that disappeared earlier this year. Put a few more features into it, and then we did a webinar last week with Power BI Tips, which was really great.
Yep.
Had a lot of fun, and teased a little bit of version 2 that's, I say it's coming out. It'll come out at some point if I stop giving myself ideas and trying to put them in. But it's a lot of fun for sure, and it's always nice to see the editor's pick.
Dare I say, version 2 is super sexy. I mean, there's CSS, there's like writing code with automatic like bracketing of things. Like, what the heck? Like, I thought the first one was good, and then you come out with version 2, and it's like over the top good.
Yeah.
So I'm super excited about it.
I'm learning how to write an IDE inside a custom visual. It's
that's amazing.
Sobering.
So if you need a full IDE inside a custom visual, Daniel's your guy to go help you build some really amazing custom visuals there.
Or am I?
So I've already.
It's a lot of work.
I posted the link to go download Daniel's visual. It's out on the App Source, and it's called a dynamic. No, sorry, it's HTML content. Is that what it's called?
Correct.
Okay. And then we did a full webinar, full hour long, just kind of spitballing around it. You did a great example explaining how it works, how to use it, and how you can build custom measures that help you build custom HTML, and you can then render that directly in your report. And version 2, which will be coming out eventually when it kind of comes around, adds some really fancy options where you can build a standard HTML structure and inject specific values into that structure for yourself, which I think will be huge for us building tables, because our table structure that we build today in tables is very limited. And this would give you like full customization about bolding a cell in a table on a specific thing based on the conditions or criteria. You can add spacing, columns, headers. I mean, you basically get full HTML editability inside a table format, which I think is going to be immensely powerful and super cool to do. So I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, as much as the custom visual sandbox will allow. So there's a few things in there, but it's going to keep your data model clean as well, which is really nice. I think the one thing I'm not so keen about is putting HTML in DAX measures and keeping them in your data model. So this is just another way of keeping that clean semantic model, data model nice and clean and pure and doing what it should do.
Yeah, totally agree.
But yeah, going hard on putting in all the helpers and snippets and conditional functionality. So, we can do some basic conditional formatting and various other things. So. Yep, and then I've got to draw a line somewhere so I can actually release it, maybe. Otherwise, I'll just keep talking about it forever and ever.
Well, just get a good version out of there, so we can get like a version 2, and then we can always do 2.1, 2.3, 2.4 later on.
I've already got plans for 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, etc.
You just have to use this.
It's just 2 that I've
mapped out.
To say, version 2, it's coming out. Let's pick a date, November 6th, and now you're on the hook.
Yeah, I was very, very nearly ready. I said on the webinar I was nearly ready, and then I had some feedback that gave me a whole different change of direction. So, but it'll be better ultimately for the long-term vision and less kind of problems when people upgrade and stuff like that. So we've got to do it right.
For sure. All right. Well, one thing we haven't talked about yet, and I'm surprised no one's picked up on it yet. There's now the personalized visuals generally available. I know that was kind of it was in preview for a while. Has anyone played with that, being able to customize visuals for the end users?
I love it. It's one of my favorite features of Power BI, and I would prefer to be enabled by default. I think it's amazing. It's something that, okay, just switch to a table, just switch to another chart very easily. And most of the times I forget to enable it by default, and it's an amazing feature. I love it.
I just barely played with it, and I think it's got a lot of potential. I want to give my business users some control, but I don't want to give them so much that they screw themselves up. So I'm a little leery because, I put a bar chart there for a reason. I didn't put a bar chart there so you could turn it into a stupid pie chart and not have any insights off that information.
Yeah, but to do that, yeah, you can easily switch to another chart, but
True.
to save it, you need to create a personal bookmark. So if you change, it doesn't stay, and unless you create a personal bookmark. So I like it because you can just very quickly change the visualization, for example, into a table. That is something that we do a lot with bookmarks, and gives you a lot of work to do that. If you want to switch between a line chart or a table, or a line or a column chart, and you can do that out of the box right now with personalized visuals. So yes, if that stayed permanent, like the similar to the filters, then I agree with you that I don't want users to confuse themselves because they changed and then they don't know how to go back. But to save it, they need to create a personal bookmark. So this is something that they need to have an extra step of work to save that. And if they do that, then it's probably they really want that.
Reset to default will be your friend.
Yeah, reset to default, it's our friend.
Yeah, because that's a little button you have at the top that you can always kind of get back to the base of what everything was doing. Well, we're getting close here to the top of the hour. We've got about another 10 minutes or so left. Any other key things that people are interested in or have found that were very well want to talk about? There's a ton of visualizations. There's a ton from Zebra BI charts. There's new visuals coming out all the time. Clustered stack bar chart by the Dev team, hierarchy chart, HTML content. CloudScope's got a number of them in there as well.
Yeah, CloudScope are back.
Yeah. They actually originally, I think, left because they were like, this is too painful for me to get through the review process. We're out. And they actually had a whole blog write-up about like how they were like, this stinks. We're not going to do anymore. And so Microsoft must have taken some address some issues there and helped them out and make it a bit easier for them to develop through that process. So that's good to have. I'm all for having more visuals.
Another cool update is on the APIs. And now you are able to create a workspace with users with viewer role. Until now, you could create a workspace and define the security of the workspace only for admins and members, but now you can put viewers.
Oh, interesting.
So this will allow you to have scripts creating the workspaces with the entire security roles of the workspaces, which is.
Is this when they're talking about Power BI automation and APIs? Is that kind of what they were talking about under the embedded analytics piece? Or is it something different? Okay.
Exactly. No, it's exactly that.
Good. I'm glad that's there because they need more like read-only people. Just here's for every, and this is what we talked about, I think, a lot with organizations. For every, there's like a Power BI team. There may be 10 people on the team. There's probably like 1 or 2 data modelers on that team. The rest of them are report builders. And then if you think about like the broader organization, for every 10 or so report designer, builders, people that you have, you've probably got like 7, 8x other report consumers, right? They don't want to build reports. They just need the data. They want it to have it in their hands. So there's always like as you kind of circles of influence, right? You have report modelers, you have report builders, and then you have like the organization to consume data. It seems to get bigger and bigger.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to divert a little bit. In terms of, I probably would have taken up a good quarter of this conversation had I not realized, like, the Power BI embedded analytics is really top of mind right now. Like I said, we do a lot of app owns data, client facing embedded reports, which is kind of pushing the bounds of fitting a report into an application versus it's being its own entity. And so I nearly leapt out of my chair when I started seeing like personal bookmarks now available for embed for your organization, personal visuals on embedded scenarios, report action bar. Like, so those 2 things alone, I was like, oh my goodness, like you've just built the custom report builder that we can dump right into an app. And then all of a sudden I was like, wait a minute, like, is that what it's saying? And I think what I'm going to dig into is there's no extension of like for your organization on the personalized visual part, but it kind of would take away the value of being able to like customize the visual, but not save it with the personal bookmark. But I do see the challenges in app owns data scenarios where you don't know the user context, right? So how do they come back into the to understand the user? But that, like, the second part of that would be, well, that would just be something the application would need to store and pass in, you know, across the way. So I if I'm reading things in this release, I don't think it's in that vein yet, but I want it to be.
Yeah, so you're talking about like the two different scenarios. It's either app owns data or user owns data. And in user owns data, you actually get like an Active Directory user that shows up to the embedded space,
Correct.
which I think is where most of this would likely be applied. But I'd have to imagine if they're doing it for a user in Active Directory on the the user owns data, if the API is there, they're probably just going to be able to have a way of letting the application handle that same information. So that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I'll have to look into that one more. Love it. Sorry, I'm like literally hopping through all the sections on the on the blog. There's a ton of stuff in there.
Yep. I was just looking at the HoloLens preview, thinking
Yeah,
I'd love to have an excuse to get a HoloLens.
I was gonna make a joke around that. Like, did you guys all get your HoloLenses out and look at all your Power reports?
Right.
I don't even own one. Yeah, Eric's got his. Yeah.
Hey, there you go. Right.
It's on now.
Some of those
You're sleeker.
It's like a year old, right? Like some of the original demos and things. Because I remember talking to you about that, Mike, and I think it was at like one of the big conferences where all of a sudden it was like the wall is the report. Like, oh, that was really cool, right?
It'd save me a ton of money not having to buy big screen TVs anymore. I mean, that would I could have unlimited.
A bar chart, a column chart.
HoloLens for you, HoloLens
You
for
get a pie chart. You get a pie chart. You get a pie chart. No, so I got to see I watched the video of it. It looks really cool. It seems very interesting. I like where they're going with it, but again, I think this is really geared towards like these like industrial applications. Like I'm a guy in a warehouse and I'm walking through rows of information and everything has a barcode on it, and I can pin reports kind of in virtual space for things. But it's pretty impressive. They have like a radar screen where you can like take it on your phone and you can put your phone up. That's where I think it's I think more cool is being able to do it on an iPhone, because everyone's got an iPhone or some sort of smart device. So being able to use your phone as the window to look around and see the reports, I think that's pretty cool, and I think that'll be really neat. One thing I'll point out here for Reed, did you see that they are doing a template apps notes here about simplified installation?
Yeah, they've
that might apply to you.
Yeah, they've reduced the number of clicks a little bit, which has been really nice. So I'm certainly appreciative of that. I'm waiting to get a Dynamics one out the door for Dynamics 365. I built it, but the problem is you need to provide test validation data for the team. It's like, but it's a Microsoft product. Shouldn't they have a test account? Like, well, no, you have to provide them the test account. But they own Dynamics. So I'm trying to find some way I can get an account of this, but it's been like 3.5 weeks. But I'm hoping to have a template app out
that would be cool.
soon.
Yeah. Dynamics is huge. There's a ton of people using that, and I think there's a lot of I mean, some of it's customized, but some of it's standard too. So you probably can get out a lot of good data that's just sitting around there not being used very well. And I've heard reporting in Dynamics is like meh. So
yeah, it's okay, exactly. And there's some fields you can customize. I'd say, or better said, there's some fields that are standard, but you really quickly get into they labels values 1 through 8, X, Y, and Z. So
sure.
I basically have a super simple report built off of it that provides some value, and then the rest of it's mostly just a chance for people to check out my other work.
Call Reed. He'll customize the snot out of this thing for a very nice charitable rate to his boat fund.
yeah, sailboats are expensive, man. You gotta maintain those.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. Well, we are at the top of the hour. I know some of you guys are starting your day, some of you guys are ending your day. So for those of you who are joining late at night, thank you very much. I think that's Eric. If you're joining here later at night, Rui, I believe you're also in the evening as well. Thank you guys for joining. It was another fun discussion. I had a couple good chuckles here. It's a blast. Always, I miss you guys. I wish I could hang out more and see you guys in person at some point, maybe in the future when things get better. We'll all be able to hang out. But thank you very much. I really appreciate your time today. Hang out. We'll do another one hopefully next month. So thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you guys.
See ya.